On Friday at 12:30 p.m. Western Standard Time, severe tropical cyclone Zelia made landfall on the Pilbara coast as a high-end Category 4 system. Now we can see severe tropical cyclone Zelia's approach towards the coast on our radar imagery, with the eye of that system clearly defined right up to the time of crossing. That did occur around 12:30 p.m. this afternoon between Pardue and Port Hedland, close to the De Grey River mouth. Now, severe tropical cyclone Zelia was a high-end Category 4 system at that point in time, having dropped back from a Category 5 system just before it reached the coast. The coastal crossing did occur a little bit earlier than initially anticipated, as severe tropical cyclone Zelia did move a little bit more quickly the closer it got to the coast. Now, at this point in time, 3 p.m. Western Standard Time, severe tropical cyclone Zelia is still a Category 4 system, sitting to the east of Port Hedland. This is a significant and dangerous system even now that the coastal crossing has occurred. We are still expecting to see very strong to destructive winds and heavy to locally intense rainfall across the coast, but particularly in the vicinity of that system. Our tropical cyclone warning still extends from Wallal Downs down to Wim Creek and includes Port Hedland. For the Port Hedland area, the key risk period will be in the next few hours. We've already seen sustained winds of 60 to 80 kilometres an hour over the past few hours, with wind gusts up to 120 kilometres an hour. And as this system gradually starts to move southwards, we're going to continue to see strong winds wrapping around the cyclone, pushing towards Port Hedland and bringing that continued risk of very strong gusts and heavy rainfall on top of that. Now, the key impacts being the destructive winds across that warning area, most likely close to the system. Between Pardue and Port Hedland, we are likely to see wind gusts up to 160 kilometres an hour through the remainder of this afternoon into this evening. As the system gradually moves inland overnight, we are going to see that risk starting to ease along the coast. Now, heavy rainfall is still likely to lead to flash flooding through many of these areas, particularly close to that cyclone track. We are also likely to see riverine flooding becoming more widespread as the rainfall starts to move through our river catchments. So, through the rest of this afternoon and this evening, we are expecting to see the cyclone tracking south inland away from the Pilbara coast. It will rapidly decay as it moves inland, likely to drop back to a Category 2 cyclone overnight into the early hours of the tomorrow morning. Through tomorrow, we're going to see the cyclone continue to decrease in intensity, dropping back to a tropical low pressure system, most likely sometime tomorrow. Now, along the track of this system, we are still expecting to see significant impacts. Even though the system is weakening, it will still pack a punch, particularly in terms of the rainfall it is expected to deliver across these parts. The winds may be decreasing, but this system will still tap into tropical moisture and draw it in around its track as it pulls it down across the inland. We can see that by our rainfall totals between now out to around Sunday afternoon. Those heavy rainfalls of 150 to 200 millimetres are expected across much of the Pilbara, the Gascoyne and the northern interior over the next few days, wrapping around that system. So the heaviest rainfall totals to the east and to the south of the tropical cyclone. In these areas, we are likely to see flooding developing if it hasn't already. A moderate flood warning is in place for the De Grey River catchments, with other flood warnings in place for the Pilbara coastal catchments. We've also got flood watches in place for much of these areas in anticipation of that water moving further downstream and having further impacts on river rises and road access. Even now that the coastal crossing has occurred, the impacts and hazards are not over yet. You can find the latest track maps and forecast details via the Bureau's website and the BOM Weather app. Stay safe and we'll catch you in the next update.